Well, that didn't take long. Sup guys, and surprise surprise, I got Risk of Rain 2 while it was in early access. Yeah, I'm weak, but to be fair, I really just wanted to play it on stream for my viewers, and what I got was unexpectedly good, but also predictably lacking. So compared to Risk of Rain 1, and go watch my full review if you haven't, this is 100% an upgrade to the formula. Now I'm not reneging on what I said in the review. If you like Metroid, Mega Man, crap, this would be where I'd mention some ultra sexy platformer for bonus fan service, but I can't think of one. Quick, someone leave a title in the comment section so I can take this video down real. If you like those type of games, Risk of Rain 1 being a 2D platformer will cater to those needs. Now, for those uninitiated, Risk of Rain is a now series about being stranded on a planet and trying to survive, collecting items to augment yourself until you escape. While the original was a 2D platformer, the sequel is obviously a 3-dimensional third-person shooter, which means maps are now sprawling battlefields, you have to aim all of your attacks, and the Huntress got a booty like pow. Speaking of the Huntress, several of the classes from Risk of Rain 1 have returned in 2 with adjustments to their kit to reflect the extra dimension of combat. One thing in particular was her ability to shoot while running. It was unique to her in the first game, but here everyone can run and gun, so it was moved to sprinting, which is a bit finicky when trying to strafe around a single enemy, but looks badass nonetheless. Another class that returned with significant changes was the Engineer, who lost his rockets, got a bubble shield, and his turrets get item effects. Wait, what? The Engineer is probably the strongest character for normal difficulty since he is effectively tripling the effectiveness of any offensive item and even has some unique interactions with certain defensive ones. That is actually one of the best features of Risk of Rain 2, the improvements to how characters interact with items. Unlike the first game where what kind of item you really wanted to get generally depended on if the character was ranged or melee, here there are some genuinely unique interactions and synergies with characters and items. Like my waifu, the Artificer, whose items and playstyle differ greatly from the rest of the cast. Don't get it twisted, I like the Thictress and all, but the gameplay is for you guys. And gals, Pride Month. But for me, my favorite class is the one that can do this. Not joking, the Artificer is a monster, able to lay down tons of damage, with the trade-off being that she has 0 defensive abilities. Having no defense makes it so the Artificer needs to stack up on both defense and mobility items, unlike other characters who should immediately be upping their DPS, because enemies are relentless here, with many having some form of projectile attack. That by itself makes the game so much more exciting since there's rarely a safe space to attack from. You need to be on the move constantly to avoid enemy fire, particularly with the golem enemies that got upgraded from simple melee trash fodder to laser shooting devils that force you to hop around like an anime beach episode. On that note, why is the Beetle Queen so humanoid looking? Do these devs not know what kind of black magic they're dealing with? But enough about that, let's talk items. One of the most important elements in this kind of game. How are they? Well, pretty good actually. Many of the old items have returned and are rebalanced, some for better and some for worse. There are a lot of new items that do some cool effects like the Wake of Vultures that gives you the buffs of elite enemies you kill, or the sentient meat hooks that have a chance to drag enemies together when you hit them. But the way they're distributed feels a little bit more stingy than Risk of Rain 1. I don't know if it's because of playing on normal difficulty, having a bit of a hard time scoping out all the boxes on these large maps, or just bad RNG, but the game felt a little bit less gracious. On the bright side though, there are a couple of new chest types and even one called the 3D printer that can give you multiples of the same item in exchange for an equal amount of your existing items, encouraging stacking without having to loop through stages forever or use artifacts. There's also the Lunar Items, which use a second type of currency,
turning players into payers.
Wait. It's just a rare in-game currency, no microtransactions here. Yet. And I completely understand. I had the same reaction when I first learned about it, but while it's a bit annoying to collect these, they do have some interesting powers that, unlike normal items, also come with a trade-off. This is best seen with the glass artifact from the previous game showing up here as a lunar item, which is good because right now, there are no artifacts in the game. Which leads me to my criticisms. Yeah, I've gone all this video saying nothing but praise about this game, but if you noticed, I didn't open this video up with, everyone should go buy Risk of Rain 2 right now, the Huntress is thick and so is the content. And that is because this is early access. The the content here is incomplete and in many ways hurts the experience overall, starting with the stages. There's no final boss. Seriously, the looping aspect of the first game that was a pretty cool side addition to, the main course? Well, it's the main course here. Now the stages are amazing and some of them have secrets to discover, but not all of them do. And sometimes they might have it, but it's just not that interesting. Like one stage's secret area that actually unlocks an achievement, but it has zero flair to it. I assume it will be expanded on with the lore or something at a later date, but right now it's just, boom, you unlocked an item. On the other hand, the ice stage has one of the coolest randomly spawning items in the game that I was so curious about that I let the timer go wildly out of control just so I could save up the gold to buy it. And even though I died in the process, I was not disappointed. For items/equipment, there are a lot of sealed off spots in the loot chart right now, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of them have to be boss items, because surprise surprise, despite the game having like 5+ bosses right now, there are only 2 boss items in the game. I kid you not, there is even a secret boss that I haven't faced yet, requiring some Dark Souls level shit from what I heard to beat, and he drops the same item you get from being the stage 1 boss. Then there is something this game is missing that is more important than the stages, more important than the items, and even more important than the characters themselves. Achievements. These are what, to me, drive a player to do all these different runs in an honestly repetitive game. Like I said in my review, the achievements make each run feel meaningful, and that's just not here right now. I blew through most of the existing achievements in maybe 3 days, and the ones that are left are annoyingly time consuming. Not so much difficult, but beating 20 stages in a single run or defeating an elite boss on monsoon difficulty is going to take some time and luck. In Risk of Rain 1, there are plenty of well spaced out achievements and even character exclusive ones, so hopefully when more items get added in, they also get some fun and creative achievements to go with them, or even simply adding some rewards to the existing events, and in some way making them a bit easier or harder to achieve via the eventual artifacts. Now there is one way to get achievements done faster, and that is with multiplayer. New to the franchise,
there is no multiplayer.
4-player co-op is fun, but as with any multiplayer game, kinda suffers when you don't have a dedicated group to play with. Pugs can be anything from the nicest teamwork focused allies to annoyingly selfish loot sniping free-for-alls, and that includes boss loot. Now I'm not saying loot should be instanced,
but I'm certainly thinking it loudly.
But at the very least, some grace periods so that others can't ninja loot would be nice, and maybe making the 3-item loot chest be able to be opened by 3 different players. But for that one I'm just spitballing. Funny enough, that was an issue for the game's publisher's own franchise as well, until they recently announced instance loot was coming to their newest sequel. And yeah, what I'm trying to get at is, this game is published by Gearbox.
Oh no!
And with that, this game also has a roadmap, which have been so successful lately. I do think Risk of Rain 2 will pull through with theirs at the very least, but still, the final boss is in 2020? Seriously? I do like what's on the list right now and what has already been leaked from other sites, but I do worry about what happens after early access. Is there going to be more content, maybe DLC, or are they just going to call it at full release and be like, "We out boys, see you next time with Risk of Rain 3 the fighting game"? No way to really tell, but I'd like to be optimistic here. Regardless, this game does have one thing that will definitely expand its lifespan even after release: mods. Even as I speak, people are making mods for this title. A bit odd since the game is in early access, but I'll take it. Now, I haven't looked really hard at the existing mod list, but from a glance, things look promising. Frameworks for adding new items, modded versions of the command artifact, thickness enhancement for both the Huntress and Artificer. Truly, the most important modifications were prioritized. I guess with all that on the table, I would say wholeheartedly that I'm having a lot of fun, but there are enough cracks in the paint that I can't fully recommend the title in its current state. Now if you're willing to endure these missing features, then by all means jump on it. This isn't the worst early access experience I've heard of, but it is early access. Anything could happen. So with that said, it's time for the old ending spiel. Leave in the comment section your thoughts, or more specifically, if you think this game is worth diving into early access for. I did it on an admittedly poorly budgeted whim, but maybe you guys wouldn't, or maybe you did and now regret it. Either way, I will see you guys next time. Wait, wasn't there another game in early access that I was supposed to review when it released? I need a day planner.